Humanity didn't bring much new knowledge to the rest of the universe. They had a few unique aspects in their sciences, particularly in the field of radioactivity. No other intelligent species had developed a fission weapon, let alone used them, and a couple of pharmaceuticals, but overall their emergence in the galactic community was fairly ordinary. They were quick learners, adapting technologies to their own methods, sharing their history, culture, philosophy, and religion, and life in the universe continued as usual. The Trallians had always been more aggressive. Evolving from a mostly solitary apex predator, they developed hyper-aggression to hunt heavily armored and armed prey. They were highly territorial, and when they eventually formed a society, they initiated a period of expansion. Some would call it conquest. They started with minor players, insignificant systems from unimportant empires that no one paid attention to. But they expanded rapidly with the ability to have litters of up to 6 every 4 Earth months. They could breed massive armies, and each litter reached combat capabilities and fighting age at 7 Earth years. Few could match their ability to expand, and despite the technological advantage on the rest of the galaxy's side, their sheer power and expansion rate made them a formidable force. Each planet they conquered allowed them to expand even faster, and their indiscriminate breeding nature, common with solitary species, meant that any interaction between two Trallians had a 50-50 chance of resulting in breeding into an even larger army. Ultimately, the Trallians began attacking the planets of the Lithorians. Unfortunately, for the Trallians, the Lithorians had a treaty that linked their security with 11 other dominions. One of those dominions was the galactically irrelevant Terrans. As a dozen empires prepared their armies, the Trallians laughed. By then, they were in control of over 100 planets across 70 systems, more than the entire coalition had together. But they had one advantage that genetics and technology couldn't handle: hope. The first ground engagement was horribly one-sided. Tens of thousands of Alliance soldiers died in what is known as the Battle of Arcanis, taking with them only a handful of Trallians. The subsequent engagements went similarly, but the actions of one species stood out among all the others. Death had always been a part of war. The tactical decisions, choosing which soldiers to send into battle, when to use reserves, which soldiers lived to see another day. But the Terrans, they had brought something new, something so incalculable to the rest of the universe that for the first few weeks the rest of the Alliance thought they were mad. Self-sacrifice is a uniquely Terran concept. The idea that one's own life may be irrelevant in the face of the mission or another life is as alien to most other intelligent species as intoxicants are. But dozens of after-action reports had come out, with squads, teams, and even individual Terrans charging madly into combat to delay the Trallians for just a fraction of a moment, an extra heartbeat to let their comrades, and even allies whose trenches were known to exist only because the map said they were there, prepare their defenses, and perhaps, God's willing, live to fight another day. Many members of many species wept for the Terran dead, but even more took up their example. Many more from outside the Alliance began to take note of Terran actions. What sapient would voluntarily choose death for another? As word spread across the stars, interstellar news agencies began to push closer to the front lines, eager to put the fleshy creatures onto the vid screens of the universe. And one day, they did the worst thing possible. They succeeded. The city of Velnar had been under siege by the Trallian forces for over 6 Earth months. A contingent of Terran stormbreakers, those Terran soldiers that were trained and equipped to drop from high-orbit vessels to ground level in the Terrans' Skyfall pods, landed in order to attempt to break the siege. The Trallian infantry charged into the residential district. They thought their beachhead would be the springboard they needed into the metropolis. They were right. The Trallians stormed into the city with little effective resistance, but the Terrans realized they could draw the predators to them and began slowing their advance. Then the Trallians breached. A team of Trallians equipped with inferno weapons charged down a residential neighborhood. They fired with abandon, targeting anything and everything not a Trallian. They incinerated homes, entire families without a second thought. Then the Terran arrived. She began with a volley from her M870 Thunderstrike automatic plasma rifle, taking down a quarter of the 80 Trallians that had breached. The lone Terran had no chance, not even with her Thunderstrike, of stopping 2 Trallian platoons, but she would die fighting, like a good Terran warrior. The Trallians kept up their destructive assault, and the Terran began her guerrilla fight, ambushing and retreating, sniping and hiding. She made them pay for a short half-kilometer until she had no more rounds to fire. As she watched, a civilian ran across the battered street, unable to take a straight line due to all the artillery craters. The Trallians turned and aimed their inferno weapons at her, a non-combatant running to meet her family, or escape the carnage, or for whatever reason that would possess an unarmed being to charge through the chaos. One of the alien news agencies had a camera focused on the right spot. They captured a lone Terran, standing between a dozen tongues of flame and a non-combatant. They caught her doing the unthinkable, sacrificing combat power for the sake of an unessential civilian. They watched her face the flames. On countless vid screens, across numerous systems, the universe watched a Terran choose death. They were out of stories, out of arguments. They watched a single Terran choose death for another as if she was choosing the day's socks or the type of cream for her coffee. They watched her so casually accept oblivion because she felt it was the right thing to do. The universe saw what made Terrans greater than them all, and that greatness made them wonder and fear. If Terrans would die for complete strangers, what would they do for those they loved? The news of the Terrans' selfless acts spread like wildfire throughout the galaxies. Interstellar news agencies beamed the images of these courageous beings onto countless vid screens, and their stories were recounted in awe across numerous systems. The universe was captivated by the extraordinary valor displayed by the Terrans, and their actions sparked a profound shift in the collective consciousness of the galactic community. As word of the Terran sacrifices echoed across the stars, a sense of introspection and contemplation settled among the various species. The selfless acts of the Terrans prompted others to question the very essence of their own values and principles. What did it mean to be noble and honorable in a universe where such extraordinary bravery existed? For many, the Terrans had become a symbol of hope and inspiration, representing the highest ideals of selflessness and compassion. Their unwavering dedication to protecting others, even at the cost of their own lives, had ignited a spark of empathy and solidarity among the stars. The once distant and disparate species found themselves re-evaluating their own beliefs, pondering the significance of such remarkable acts of courage. While some were moved to tears by the sacrifices of the Terrans, others were filled with a sense of wonder and admiration. The question lingered in the minds of many. If the Terrans would willingly lay down their lives for strangers, what depths of devotion would they reach for those they held dear? The impact of the Terrans' actions reverberated across the cosmos, laying the foundation for a new era of understanding and cooperation. The galaxy had been forever changed by the remarkable deeds of the Terrans, and their legacy would endure as a guiding light for generations to come.